think foreign policy is probably like the least that I know about. I don't really get into that much. The only thing I will say is obviously, since what you guys know my position on a lot of stuff. I'm super anti-war and anti-bombing small countries, countries that are a lot smaller than ours. I hate the fact that we spend more money on our military than anything else. While we have schools that are that are suffering, teachers that can't get enough pay, all that while all that is going on, while pandemic is going on, somehow we're still able to spend trillions of dollars on military shit. So with that being said, Joe Biden, I guess, okayed the bombing of Syria. Um, Let me kick it over to Gio. You probably know more about this than I do for sure. What do you think?
Yeah, so the administration is claiming that Iranian-backed militias in Syria attacked government troops or U.S. troops in Iraq, right? And the bombing of those civilians, or not civilians, but those that supposed militia was in retaliation for that. That the United States bombed this group and killed like a bunch of civilians, apparently. So Syria has been in a civil war since 2011, right? During the Arab Spring is when that started. Um, and it's killed 500,000 people since then. And the U.S., Russia, Israel, and all the countries have been bombing the place for since at least 2015. Uh, they say it was retaliation for the killing of troops in Iraq, but we probably shouldn't even be in Iraq to begin with, right? We invaded Iraq in 2003 illegally on a fake pretense that they were collaborating with terrorists when that wasn't true at all. Um, and it's also been a year since the Iraqi parliament voted to expel all U.S. troops from Iraq, and yeah, we still have troops there. And so I don't understand why, like, the whole like premise is a complete farce, right? There shouldn't be troops there to begin with, and we're killing more people to defend those troops. Like, it's just like a shit show now.
Sorry, it seems like every time there's like an attack of some kind, like we hear one thing and then it turns out being another. Like it's all fucking based on deception. Like why the fuck there was an attack in the first place?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, and China has called for the respect of of Syria's sovereignty and structure go- uh, physical integrity. This goes back to what the military industrial complex uh, is represents for our country, right? Like the power that it wields in our country. With the politicians and the donations to campaigns, like I keep saying, but also the authorization for use of force, which was passed in 2002 after 9/11, so that the president can go after terrorists. That has been renewed every year since then and has been abused by both Democratic and Republican presidents since then. And so that needs to be addressed too.
Uh, Chris, let's go to you. What do you think?
I mean, it's sort of what Gio said. We've been in the Middle East since 2003, and before that, we were in there during Desert Storm in the late 80s, early 90s. So it feels like we're constantly having Americans go into harm's way over a pretense of nothing. Like why, like the fact that we were asked to leave Iraq over a year ago, and we were we were already starting to bring troops home during the Obama administration. We should have been done doing whatever it is we were trying to do to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
several years ago. Like that's just another family that's going to be devastated over the decisions that someone in a suit made. And this affects everybody. This affects the folks in Syria, the folks in Iraq, the people who were radicalized by you know ISIS and Iran, and it's just becoming like this huge. It's turning into like another proxy war between nations,
Mm-hmm.
and which is probably why we're still over there to begin with. But I mean, I've heard there have been a lot of like politicians say a lot of different things about intervention and war, but the only one that's actually said an end to all wars has been Bernie Sanders. Like Bernie Sanders has been saying this since the fucking '60s, that the U.S. military should not be used in any way, shape, or form. So I don't know. It's just ugly, man. I've never liked it, and I'm hoping that going into this new decade, we can finally start using diplomacy again, as opposed to just blowing the hell out of each other.
Yeah, and like, what I wanted to say too is like you said, it affects that family, right? And just the people in Syria, and it affects a lot of people, and not only that, but people here don't like it, right? So we got people over there disliking, what our government is doing. We got people here disliking what our government is doing, and for some reason they just don't stop, right? Hector, what do you think?
Yeah, so I want to first and foremost start by calling out the media for misleading titles for their articles and videos, because most of the articles and videos titles that I saw said something along the lines of like the U.S. bombed Syria, right? So it doesn't exactly give the details within that, right? Because the U.S., although dropped bombs within Syria, as Gio was saying, it was because we, I guess the Pentagon or the U.S. thought that there were Iranian-backed militias within that area, right? And I think I read that also the U.S. got permission from Syria before dropping the bombs. Correct, Gio? Anybody?
I heard that Russia got warned a couple of minutes beforehand. I don't know if Syria got warned. Maybe that's true.
Okay. But yeah, going back to the media, right? Misleading titles. I think they should do better at that, because I know that most people just don't go on and read the full article. They just see the title and say, "Word, we bombed Syria."
I mean,
No
but
way.
like permission or not, like if civilians are being like put in harm's way, like this is something that shouldn't be happening, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I don't give a fuck like who gave permission. Like if there's people, there's civilians that are being bombed, like, and it's like, oh well, like we were trying to get bad guys, but we missed, or we got the bad guys, but we also got the apartment building next to them. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, and the
Right.
Syrian government itself is not a beacon of human rights either, right? It has multiple years of abuse against its people.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and my second call out would be Joe Biden himself. Joe Weak Sauce Biden, who has received that title from us
Weak sauce.
until he does better. I know that in 2002 he was one of the senators that voted for Bush to go into Iraq.
Absolutely.
So this is not a complete surprise, and for anyone that thinks it is, it shouldn't be. If you look at the history,
He's on par.
so it's kind of counterintuitive to think that, or to believe that the Democrats are against war, or anti-war, or anti, keeping the troops in the Middle East, when they talk so much about bringing them back. And I've heard this so many times. We're gonna bring back the troops. We're gonna bring back the troops. We're gonna bring back the troops. It just never happens. Those are just my two callouts. In terms of my position is no war, man. Like why even, like, first of all, like if you just look at the logic behind all this, right? Or if you look at the sequence of events, right? Like if we didn't have any troops stationed in the Middle East, then there would be nowhere to strike, right? Like you wouldn't have the Iranian backed militia striking any of the American troops. So it's just a big circle. It's just a mess, right? It's kind of like you could point back and be like, it's actually our fault if you look at it in that sense.
Yeah, because I mean, you have two factions fighting, right? Or factions fighting, and then you throw in the U.S. military. Like, how does that make any sense, right? Like, the situation in a lot of those countries is far more complicated than just, hey, these guys are bad and these guys are okay. Like,
Yeah.
there's factions all over that place, right? And they all have different interests and different just different goals, and they're all like, uh, down to fire shots. And so to throw our military into all that mess, like, it just never made sense to me, for sure. And yeah, it's unfortunate that Biden, I guess, still hasn't learned from because he got a lot of flack, right, for being that guy that voted, for the war back then. So for him to not recognize that this is something that the people didn't like of him and were weary of it happening again, he's just proving them right. So everyone now knows that, right, he's not going to change his ways when it comes to the military, when it comes to war. He's just going to get the same old warmonger Biden.
What about Ted Cruz? Freedom! Why are you screaming at me, bro?
I don't get it, man. Ted Cruz is maybe he just knows he's on the way out, and he's kind of like, like when you're almost about to quit your job and you're just fucking off like the hardest you can. I think that's what he's doing, man. I think he knows that he's not gonna get reelected. He's probably not even gonna try. I would be surprised if he tries. He should probably just hang out and see who takes his spot for, like. But if he gets reelected, oh my god, dude! Honestly, then I don't know what to tell you. We're gonna have a lot of more funny content, I guess. I don't know. Content is always good, and we definitely appreciate you being our first guest on the discussion lounge. Everybody, give it up to Mr. Christian Markovich from the city of Cudahy, and to the awesome co-hosts Hector and Gio. Always insightful, always hilarious, always super smart with the hot takes, as they like to say. So yeah, man, this has been another episode. We thank you guys for watching. We appreciate everybody who's been watching. Subscribe and like if you want, or don't. Fuck it, we're not trying to monetize. So this is us all for fun. No ads. We're all good. We're just doing this just to shoot the shit. So, man, if you like it, like. If you subscribe. If you don't, tell somebody. If you don't want to tell nobody, then fuck out of here. Don't watch this shit. But yeah, thank you guys. We appreciate it, and we out. Hey guys, don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what you hear. And if you want to hear some of the issues that you care about discussed on Discussion Lounge, go ahead and drop them in the comments section.